welcome to the Crafty Mini, and this is episode 3 in the October Nightmare. Now this one, warning at the start, it gets a little bit dark this. So I've started off with this little thrift store, charity shop, little child thing. Managed to break the face off completely into 3 little bits, and we'll glue those back together. And the idea is this is going to be another artefact for the BPRD. And it's going to have a weird twisted monster on the inside of it. So first things first, just bulking out with some tin foil on the inside and start hot gluing and building this up so I can, when I add all the bits on it, obviously I'm not using as much material, trying to keep the cost low. This was 25p from the thrift shop, so I'm just going to show what you can do here with a bit of milliput, a bit of hot glue and some paint. So there's the face glued back together, and the milliput. So 2 equal parts, start mixing this all up, and then from here we're going to start making all the bits and the greeblies and all the weird little things that are going to go inside that cavity in the doll's head. So I'm starting off with tried and tested favourite, tentacles. Going to need plenty of those. Just rolling the milliput in up into worms and then just shaping them slightly and then leaving them to air dry. It takes a couple of hours before you can start working with them. But it's a really simple, easy, effective way of doing it. Now the reason I'm doing the milliput is because obviously I've hot glued the foil in, because originally I was going to use polymer clay and obviously oven bake it because the ornament itself can be baked. But the glue, I didn't know if it would react in the oven even on a low temperature, so I thought, right, we'll just do milliput. Nice and easy. It's a similar sort of process as the clay, it's just you leave it to air dry as opposed to popping it in the oven. So the thing's going to have 3 little eyes on the inside of it. So just a couple of balls of the milliput, make a hole, variate the sizes, smooth them out, and again leaving all those to dry. It was at this point as well I found it was like a trap or something that came with the Pokeball toy that, and the Brontosaurus, and that's the little teeth here. So I've cut them in half, got rid of the middle bar. Thought, right, we'll put some teeth in the head because why not, make it even more gross and creepy. So I hot glue those in, and now that all the milliput's dry, I'm going to hot glue these tentacles. Now I don't use all of them. I did make some spare teeth, but that'll be get saved for another project. Always keep anything like that you've made because you never know when you'll need it. I'm just going to go start hot gluing these in, picking my favourites and just getting on a definite shape that looks really twisted and weird, and then the eyes are in the middle. So I'm just working my way around with the hot glue. And then if there's any open areas after everything's glued in that I want, use some more hot glue to bulk that out and make it all like the Shoggoth, all sort of undulous and moist and horrible, and just make it look really gelatinous and gnarly. Because you've got it's a nice sort of juxtaposition on this one. So you've got the innocence of the little child's face on the actual ornament itself, and then this horrific monster that's hiding behind it. So you can see here I'm just filling up any gaps with some more hot glue just to get everything all in. Once that's dry and cooled down, everything gets a simple base coat of red. I don't want to paint the actual ornament itself. I'm keeping the paint away from that because it adds to the finished effect. And to be fair, it's less hassle. This is a really good way of upcycling a thrift store. We call them charity shops over here in the UK. But finding something, a simple ornament, and just turn it into something nasty and gnarly and horrific. So I'm just going in, base coating all of this red on the initial coat, and then we'll work on our highlights after that. But just take your time, go around the edges, make sure you don't get anything on the actual ornament itself, because we want to keep that original paint scheme. Now obviously if you do anything like this, use your Google Lens on your camera or a bit of research, make sure you've not accidentally bought something that's worth a load of money. Because if you imagine this was like a extremely rare ornament and it's 50 grand and you're just going to break the face off it, you're going to be very annoyed with yourself. This wasn't worth anything, so all good. So first highlight, so I'm using Vermilion by Vallejo on top of the flat red by Vallejo base coat, and just catching the raised areas, and this will eventually be dry brushed up to like a pinky colour. But it just gives more layers, more texture like we've done on other paint jobs, making sure everything pops and looks nasty as we can. And at the very end of this we'll make it look really slimy and wet. But just going around and highlighting everything. Then once that's done, I'm mixing a little bit of light sand to the vermilion, and then it creates this nice pinky colour, and then all the tentacles get a quick blast with this. And I'm not being very clean with this, just make it quite rough and ready. I want it to be, loads of texture, gnarly, just as long as I don't get it on the actual ornament itself. But all the tentacles and some of the middle parts will get that in. Then with the actual dark sand itself, we'll take our time and go in and paint those teeth. And then with the dark sand, go in and paint the teeth, because this will get washed down with some sepia wash, and then a slight highlight on the very tips, back with the light sand after that. So just block these out for now. And again, it's a nice colour change, a nice contrast with the reds and the pinks that are going to be popping through this. I also use this colour on the eyepieces themselves in the middle, and that's just again just to differentiate, and I'll put a bit of pink around the edges and feather it round, just so there's a nice gradient from the sort of outside of the white of the eye, as it were, into the actual inside of the mouth. But it's quite a nice technique. I've had a lot of fun with this project in particular for the October Nightmare series. Let my imagination run a bit wild on this, and it's very, very creepy. I must say, looking at the finished thing now on my desk, it's disturbing, but fun, and that's what we want, something crazy. So once that's done and all dry, everything gets a nice sepia wash, gets into all the nooks and crannies, all the little bits of undulations on the glue, any detail that's on the milliput, anything like that, it goes in on top of absolutely everything, and it just helps to outline and settle in all the recesses. And then where needed, I'll go back in with the original colour and slightly shade them back up, which on some of the tips of the tentacles I do, and the teeth in particular, just to make them pop a little bit more. And this is really simple, cheap and effective. If you haven't got any washes, you can just water down acrylic paint to a consistency, and you can again use it for the exact same thing. So everything gets a wash. I'm just cleaning up with a bit of pink now on the actual eyes, on the eyeballs themselves, and then I go up to that dark brown colour, which is what I'm using now. And this is feathered on, and this is just to make everything pop, like same with the teeth. But this way, like I say, with the other videos as well, the skull, the obsidian skull, the previous episode, keep all these bits of tat and these bits of plastic that would end up normally on a landfill and upcycle them. You can make weird monsters out of stuff for very, very cheap, and they're very effective, and there's something unique, something that you're not going to get from a shop. You won't be able to buy anything like this because you've made it yourself, and just have fun with it. As always, make sure you have fun. Making monsters is I've always enjoyed it because it's the grotesque, the weird, and you can pretty much do what you want with it. Right, so on the eyes themselves now, putting in some of this light blue, sky blue from Vallejo, and that's because it sort of matches the blue that's on the actual original face of the piece. And because with the backstory that you'll see at the end of the video, like we've done in all the October Nightmares, this thing is called the Blue-Eyed Baby Boy, and there's a reason for that, and that's all in the backstory. But just going on the insides of these eyeballs that we've made on the indent, and then we'll put a little pupil on the inside of this because we're going to use UV resin to make it all pop. You can see it's already starting to take shape, and this is where I go around the actual eyes themselves now. Just feather this out slightly, just to make the colour gradient from the actual inside of the mouth to the eye as different as I can. And it still makes them pop, but it all matches. And when you consider this has been done with 4 colours, this whole paint scheme is pretty simple. It's nice, cheap and effective. Right, so the pupils, just get a bit of black and just take your time and just dip the very centre on the inside of the eye, because the UV resin is going to create a dome effect for the eyes to pop and look like eyeballs and magnify everything. You don't need a lot. But that's the eyes all cured with the UV resin. And now we come to the last few bits. So I want to get some gloss varnish because I want the whole of the interior of this, the face sort of cavity, to be glistening and look like it's wet and moist, and it's something horrible and otherworldly. So just popping this all over everywhere, apart from where the UV resin was, on all the teeth, absolutely everything that's inside the doll. And when all this dries, it's going to look wet and moist. Now I have heard that there's a varnish by Tamir that's really good for this. I'll be looking at getting some of that at some point. But at the moment this is just standard acrylic gloss varnish from Vallejo. So where it's got this, I think it's a rattle in the baby's hand, I wanted to glue the mask onto that as if it's holding it, just with the connection point onto the other hand, as if it's pulled the mask down and it's shown its true self. So a bit of hot glue gun, and then using the glue gun now, you'll see I put a little spot and then I drag across the tentacles to the mask and everything, and this is just adding like beads of saliva, and as if there's like, it's got a really wet gummy mouth in there. It's a really simple method. You can do this with Yoo-hoo if you haven't got a hot glue gun. But there's the finished thing. Really gross. Absolutely enjoyed this project. Stay around now for the backstory of the blue-eyed baby boy, and we'll see you on the next video of the October Nightmare. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Evidence number 611285-G.
One of the BPRD's more infamous objects, the porcelain ornament known as Blue-Eyed Baby Boy, has been with the organization for many years. Originally donated by the then co-founder of the BPRD, Reverend Adam Stanley Hobbart, the ornament was found in a small house in Nottingham, UK, after the local church council brought the property to house new curates in training. Blue-Eyed Baby Boy is said to be responsible for the haunting, torment, and rumored death of 2 of the trainee curates. Upon inspection of the now abandoned house, the ornament was found to be emitting powerful EMF readings by the Reverend, who was a student of the paranormal in his spare time. After taking custody of the item, the Reverend would be plagued by constant visions of a small child boy who was trapped. It now sits in the containment and inspection area of the BPRD facility here in Middle England, and while it looks innocent enough, it will ask viewers if they wish to play with me, and upon confirming, the mask is removed to show a mass of writhing tentacles, a maw with several small razor-sharp teeth, and curiously 3 small blue eyes. Apart from the mask and fleshy interior, it does not move and remains sitting, asking to play with any staff member looking at it, or has been recorded and witnessed on several occasions laughing innocently in the quiet corridors, saying simply, "I am a baby blue-eyed boy." Level 2 containment to be constantly in effect with this item until further study can be completed.